the new season begins with me watching 86, which in retrospect is an entertaining name. It's like calling a story about a typical white family gammons or ho-hos for a similar Ukrainian family. But yes, 86 is an 11 or 12 if you count the special episode, which is basically a recap episode anime made by A1 Pictures, whose main point is that racism is bad. I would have joked about this message being a tad redundant in this day and age, but then I go to any social media and see that a lot of people have never gotten the memo about that. But we'll get to the theme in due time, don't you worry. In a world that is sorta similar to our own, the proud Republic of San Magnolia has been at war with the Empire of Giad, whatever, and its automated swarm of autonomous drones known as the Legion for several years, defended by their automatic drones called the Juggernauts. But in reality, the Republic is very racist towards pretty much everyone that isn't Alba, the main people of San Magnolia, so much so that they've took all non-Albans from 85 regions, relocated them to the 86th region, and then put them into those Juggernauts that in reality are crappy vehicles to basically fight for their lives, all while being dehumanized by Albans, not only considering them to be subhuman, but also even stripping them of their names and calling them 86 instead. We follow Shine Nozen, an 86 leader of the Spearhead Battalion, and Vladilena Milize, an Alba commander of the Spearhead Battalion, as they develop bonds with each other and discovering the levels of bigotry this nation stands for, blah 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 blah. Basically, the racism in this anime feels contrived at best and fucking nonsensical at worst. The worst part is that I have a feeling that people will like it solely because of the deep and relevant themes of why all human lives matter and all that bullshit. Allow me to explain something to you. Racism is never spontaneous. There is logic in hatred, no matter how wrong or false that logic is. The Nazis didn't just suddenly decide to hate Jews for no reason. There was 1,000 years worth of history before that. And given this, all the hatred in San Magnolia makes little no sense. First of all, the whole war, though taking a long time, has barely spanned a generation. Our heroes are people who still remember other nationalities living in their state and their deportations, yet people don't really give a shit. In fact, our Adelina is pretty much the only one that consistently does throughout the series. Then there's the whole moronic plan about 86 and their use on the battlefield. So here's the gist, alright? The Legion is planned to shut down in about 2 years because of the nature of their AI. So the military's plan is to basically kill all 86 on the battlefield before the Legion expires to make sure that when this war ends, nobody could accuse them of racism. This explains why, though they are still at war and technically commanders still, command troops, they don't really give a shit, and 86 are pretty much left to fend on their own. They gather barely any intelligence on the enemy, and their command is similar to a person playing an RTS for the first time. So in other words, the evil racist regime had gathered the people they hate, stripped them of their rights and humanity, told them to fight for the state against a threat, and then proceeded to do nothing for the next 7 to 9 years. Neither did the 86, which apparently are totally fine with just dying for the people that hate them. Then there are the characters, or to be more specific, the lack of. There's basically only 2 characters. Vladilena, the Samaritan that knows the Legion isn't gonna stop after 2 years, yet instead of telling this to the command, chooses to go around and say that human rights are important, and the Undertaker, whose defining characteristic is his hate boner for his brother. Other characters in the story serve exactly 3 purposes: say racist things, validate whatever those 2 were doing that time, and tragically die so that the viewer feels something. The graphics are average, with characters' faces repeatedly missing or weirdly animated half the time, and the music is okay, but forgettable and sometimes feels out of place. Basically, the anime feels rushed. Everything about it, from the animation to especially the plot, feels discombobulated and the conflict artificial. There is no context to the fighting, no context to the world, and what we do know about it feels poorly explained at best and schizophrenic at worst. There is potential in the story, and the interaction between everyone could be more memorable if fleshed out, and there are scenes that are great to watch, but you know what I say, if I could see the future, I would have invested into non-perishables.